talking about walking for the last few weeks and what it means to walk, what it means to walk with God, what it means to be in his favor, what it means to let some things go. And the most important part of the whole series is walking. And that's one thing I want to talk about today is the walk, like the actual physical type of process that you have to do, the stepping of even the Greek word says walk is to trample underground, like, so you walk over some things. But when we think about walking practically in our lives, walking seems boring. It seems mundane. It seems like it's not something that we look forward to doing. Only time we ever celebrate it is when our children are born and they learn to take their first steps. Or, if someone injured themselves and they learn how to walk again, that is about the only time that someone walks, that is celebrated. And of course, whoever would walk in a race, those things practically does not make sense. But in God's world, they do. In Galatians 5:16, it says this, and this is what Paul is telling to the church. He says, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the desires of your flesh. So you may be asking, what are you talking about there? Well, earlier in this story, in Galatians 5, or all through Galatians, Paul establishes this church. He goes in, he does all the groundwork, he rolls up his sleeves, he gets to work, he gets busy, he handles everything. And he teaches this community who God is. And like any new believers, y'all, when you become new in Christ, you are excited. You telling everybody about Jesus, what he's done, going to services, being a part of everything you can be. And so they was in that position. They were running. They were excited. They was full of energy. But something's going to come up. Something is going to discourage you. And that's what happened to these people. They were told that they needed to do more. They were told that they needed to do things differently in order for God to bless them. And so altogether, they just stopped trying. They quit. And Paul wrote them this letter. Who hindered your running? What event came in your life that stopped you from running? Sometimes it happens. But instead of him beating them across the head and telling them to run the race that's laid before you, run with endurance, get up and run again, he understood that they suffered an injury, that they was unable to. And anytime a hindrance comes, a hindrance is something that blocks your path. It blocks your way of walking, your way of doing things. It changes. It's unmovable. It seems impossible. It's something that hinders you. It literally stops you from making progress. So Paul says the next best thing to do is to walk. But not only walk by the Spirit. It's not supposed to be a race in our lives, though we make it seem. We always get in this place where we feel like things got to come fast, and we got high expectations for everything in our life. We expect this to come, we expect that to come, and it better be in the time, it better be done by this time. It better be done by our 30s. It better be done by our 40s. I better be retired before I'm 50. And we set these expectations in our lives, and then when they don't happen, they too become hindrance. So even yourself can become your own hindrance of your own walking or running. So Paul is telling them to walk. And that brings up my first point. When you can't run, you got to walk. It is a good option because it's still going to allow you to move forward. When you can't do what you is set out to do, the way you wanted to do it, in the time you wanted to do it, as long as you get across the finish line, it's the only thing that matters. It makes me think about this story, actual events. In the 1992 Olympics, Derek Redmond was a 400-meter runner. And he made it to the finals, and they thought that he was going to be a really good chance to win the whole entire race. So when he took off running, halfway through the run, y'all, his hamstring popped. And I can only imagine if I was running his race. Give me the stretcher and walk me off. I'm done here. I'm not going to do this. But something inside of him said, don't quit. Something drove him to get up because he started hopping towards the finish line. And that lets us know that if we stumble and fall, get up and keep going. You got to think that even though we don't think walking does a lot for us, it actually do. Walking over a certain length of time gives you some strength that you didn't know that you have. We don't see the changes instantly, but they are changing inside of us. And so walking allows us to continue to make it towards the finish line that God has for us. And so we have to press on. That man got up and he was determined to make it. He knew all the work that he put in. He knew all the hours of sweat of repetitive days and repetitive things, just the same way we do. We got to pray. We got to go to church. We got to fast. We got to do all these things repetitively, wanting and hoping for God to do more in our life. And it seems like it's not showing up. But those repetitive motions is a lot of work that you put in. So don't abandon the things that God has already put inside of you and that you have already started doing. He got up and he headed towards that finish line. Now, the beautiful thing is this, is we have to know that when we are walking, the Spirit will meet us where we are. It shows a part of the video where his father runs out onto the track and help his son to the finish line. That's beautiful. That God is willing to come and meet us where we are. But it was beautiful to see how his daddy grabbed him and held him. And he instantly got some power, y'all. He got strengthened enough to make it across the finish line. It says that in Acts 1:8, it says, when the Spirit of God comes upon you, that it will empower you. And that's what that looks like, helping you to the finish line that God has in store for you. But let's not just leave it at you walking when you stumble and fall, but also the way we walk matters too. How we conduct ourselves. It tells us in Ephesians that we should walk wisely. Allow our walk to be wise. So not getting caught up in stuff that looks more like for myself. You know, I'm looking after possessions. I'm walking after those things. I'm trying to be on the grind. I'm walking after those things. I'm trying to do more. I'm trying to get more. I'm walking after those things. But instead, turn your focus to, I'm just walking after God. He will give me those things. Because those things individually walking after him will shape the way my life looks. And if my walk mimics what the world looks like, then I'm full of destruction. I'm not helping anything. I'm helping only myself. But when I walk out the things of God, it not only changes me and help me, but it helps everybody around. Because when you don't quit, it gives people strength to carry on. So I'm telling someone that today, don't give up. Don't quit because you're having a hard time at it, but continue to trust in God and he will help you finish what you began. Until next time, y'all be blessed.